Today, I'm going to tell you the plein air tips that are going to help you feel more confident to get outside and start to paint. When you are on location, there is so much more information that you can take in and absorb when you are here versus the studio. For one thing, you can see more details in the shadows. When you take a photo, often it can really compress the darks and you lose a lot of information. But when you are here on location, you'll see subtle color shifts in your shadows that you've never seen before. You will experience the breeze and the feeling of being on location. And the great thing about plein air painting is that you take those feelings, that experience back with you to the studio when you paint. Plein air painting is not easy, so let's get that out in the open right now. With these tips that I'm going to give you, it'll become more achievable and it'll feel less daunting for you to get outside and start to paint. The first thing I want to talk about is picking the right subject. This is so important. When I first started painting outdoors, I would pick something that I probably wouldn't have even been able to paint in the studio. So that's the first thing that you need to remember. If you can't paint it in the studio, you're definitely not going to be able to paint it on location, outside, in the elements, with the wind blowing and the light changing and people coming up and talking to you and interacting with you. So pick the right subject. So over here, we have a great subject to start with, something simple. We want to look for the big shapes of the scene. Think about the lights of this scene. You have the sky, and then you have the grass. Then you have the light values on that building that's over there. So you can paint all that in one wash. Then you can go back in and paint the large connected shape of the trees around that building to define it, and then add a little bit more texture. So I actually painted this scene last week, and here's how that painting turned out. Picking a simple subject is key, especially when you are first getting used to painting outdoors. Find something that is paintable, that is achievable. You will have a much higher rate of success, and you will get less frustrated when you're starting to paint outdoors. The next thing I want to say is pack as light as you can. Don't feel like you need to haul all of your studio gear outside when you start to paint. Take a very minimal approach. Take 3 brushes, a large mop brush, a medium round brush, and a smaller brush for details. Sometimes you're going to be parking and walking to location, so you don't want to have a lot of stuff with you. You want to try to pack as light as you can. Now, another tip is to have a plein air bag that is separate from your studio equipment. So I know there can be some more cost involved with that, and you might want to wait till you really understand what it is that you need to take with you before you do this. But as you progress, consider having a plein air bag that is unrelated to your studio equipment. And this will make it much easier to just grab your bag, grab your painting stuff, and go. It'll make it much less likely that you forget important things back in the studio. I've actually driven out to a location, gotten all set up, and then realized that I didn't have any paper with me. And that is really frustrating. Nothing zaps your creativity and your inspiration more than leaving something behind that's important. Now, the most important tip I have for you is to set your expectation. What is the goal of plein air painting? Let's talk about what that goal is. When you get outside and paint, you are taking in the atmosphere of the scene. You're feeling the breeze, you're observing the light. We want to take that full sensory experience and we want to bring that back to the studio with us, because that information will inform your studio paintings. Your studio work will get better if you spend more time out on location experiencing these things. That is the overall goal of plein air painting for me. It is to spend more time in the element of what I'm painting. So when I go out and I plein air paint, I'm not thinking this painting is going to win an award. I'm going to sell this painting. I'm going to make a masterpiece. I'm not thinking about any of that. Treat your plein air paintings as sketches to inform your other work. And if you treat them as sketches and take some pressure off of yourself, you'll have much more success and you'll feel optimistic about spending your time outside, and it won't feel like a waste of time because you're just gathering information. A lot of my plein air paintings just don't turn out. You're painting out in the elements, the wind is blowing, the light is changing, but I never feel bad about spending time outside. Treat it as gathering resources to really help you become a better painter overall by experiencing the subject in person. Now, occasionally you might paint something that you really like, and that's wonderful. I see that as a bonus. But a lot of times it's not going to be that way. It's going to be gathering information and creating a nice sketch that I could possibly turn into a finished painting later on. So that is a big part of painting outdoors. Set your expectation. So next week, I'm going to go over my plein air painting gear. I'm going to show you the things that I have to have when I'm outside painting on location. Now, if you are ready to take the next step forward in your painting, I have a free video lesson just for you. The 7 secrets of fresh and powerful painting. Now, in this lesson, I talk about how to plan your painting, how to mindfully paint your scene, and how to know when to put your brush down before you overwork your painting. Now, when you sign up for this lesson, I send you 2 things. I send you my pre-painting checklist. This is something that you can look at before every painting to ensure that you're thinking through the right things as you're getting started. And the second thing I send you is my watercolor supplies guide. Now, if you have questions about brushes, about paper, about pigments, anything like that, I talk about all those things in my watercolor supplies guide. And it's really easy to get started. Simply follow this link here and get my free video lesson, 7 secrets of fresh and powerful painting. I'll see you there.